Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the French defense, another very strong black opening, which was played at the World Cup. So, they open with e4 and we play this move e6. Then, most of the time they will grab the center because that is what you were taught, and now we strike back in the center. And now, there are a couple things they can do. They can take the pawn, they can push the pawn, or they can defend the pawn with a knight move. These are the most common lines and the lines I will show you. So let's start with the push variation first. That's a move a lot of people think is nice because you grab space, so that should be good, right? It is, but now we get this move c5, they have to defend the pawn, and now we're just gonna keep developing our pieces and attack this pawn. So that's what we do. So now they bring out their knight to defend the pawn again, and now we can play this move queen b3, and they will probably play the bishop out to a very nice square. And now we have to play this move bishop e7, which you have to memorize, but I hear you guys think, why can't we just take the pawn? So let's see, take, take. We take with the queen. You should always watch for checks, a check, and you will end up losing your queen. So that's why we first have to develop the bishop in this position, and now they should see that the pawn is hanging, so they can maybe drop their bishop back or develop the other bishop. I would say this is a much more natural move because you develop a bishop while defending the pawn, but it does hang this pawn. So there are maybe some gambit players, so after we take, they play here. You can even grab another pawn, but it will get very dangerous in this position because they have so much development. They can maybe take the pawn now, or they can just castle, and we have to make 3 moves before we can castle, so it's very dangerous. So that's why it's a move in this position to drop the bishop back, defend the pawn with the queen, and now we are going with our plan. Knight to e7. We could go here, but most of the times that's not a good move because you will get taken and your pawns get doubled on the outside of the board. So we develop the knight here. We do block the bishop, but that doesn't really matter. And now they might say, so your bishop doesn't see the pawn anymore, so now I'll take. And when you take back, yeah, the queen is a bit exposed. They can maybe play this move b4, but it doesn't really matter. We just drop back, and they severely weaken this pawn over here, which we can hunt down with the queen coming here, the knights both pointing at the pawn, and that pawn will just be lost. So that's not a good move. So experienced player will just castle, for example. Now we can bring our knight here. In some positions you can also go here, putting even more pressure to the pawn, but they can always take. And now this pawn is weak, this pawn will be defended with g6, but it's this pawn that's weak, and we kind of block in our light squared bishop, so, and we give away this strong knight, so that's not really what we want most of the time. So we move here. You can say, yeah, they can still remove our knight, but now we will open up the h-file and attack their king. So we play knight to g6, and what can they play in this position? They have to defend the pawn. So maybe they just develop the knight, or they think, I don't want this pawn to be weak anymore, I'll just push the pawn. And it's not that bad, because this pawn will get a bit weak, but we cannot really pressure it, because if we pressure it, they can just defend it with the bishop or the queen, and that knight now still defends it. And if we take ever, they just recapture, and it's fine. So they can maybe play this move. We will develop the bishop. They will develop their bishop to somewhere, I think to e3. Kind of threatening to take this pawn. They don't really threaten it because we can just recapture with the bishop. Now we castle. They can take, but they should leave the center just how it is. They can play this move. And now a very important move in the French. Try to find it. it's this move f6. Because if they take, they open up our pieces, we'll be ready to play e4 and open up the center our knight pressures, and all our pieces are well developed. So that's very nice. So let's go back all the way. This was the push variation. But what about the trade variation? This is kind of boring, but I found a solution for you guys. So first we just start with developing the knight. That's normal. They develop the bishop here. We also develop the bishop here, stopping their bishop from coming out. Now it looks very symmetrical, but wait a minute, it will get interesting. There are some lines where they play c5 or c4, then we defend, but even if they play this move, we also will play this move. But let's look at the more common move, c4. We play this move. If they play c5, we just draw back, and if they take, we can take with the knight, giving them this IQP pawn structure. So they can develop the knight behind it, and first I like doing this. They can pin us, we can pin them. If they chase, we just move back, we don't trade. No, they can, maybe they shouldn't move the queen somewhere. They can play this move, but this doesn't really work because we take the knight, damage the structure, and now we play for a win, of course. So they are a bit cramped here, but still okay. So move here is maybe this, or even dropping the bishop back, or they can even play g4. So let's say they drop the bishop back. Now I like developing the knight, and they can play now rook e1. And now I like this move, this idea. Not in this position, but maybe take. And now we still have the same idea of doing this to the structure, which we already know is good for us. So that's why. But a long-term idea could be to play this move. They defend the pawn. Let me make a bit of another variation. So let's say we move our bishop to here, and we just trade it off. That's a better example of my idea. Now they will play. We make first move this to defend our knight. They will play rook e1. I will play this move, attacking the pawn. They will defend. Our rook is defended, and now we can maybe take, but we can also just bring the rook. And what my idea now is, if they play a waiting move, we drop the bishop back, and we get this very nice battery, and that would just give us this very nice attack with the knight jumping in the center, trading off a rook. We can rear out this knight via that way. So that's a very nice way to play this position, with a lot of opportunities for black. And then there are the knight variations, where I recommend taking the pawn. So in this position we take their pawn, they take back, and we defend the knight. It's kind of awkward to defend the knight with the bishop or the queen, so they choose to take. They expect queen takes, but we surprise them with g takes. Now we get this pawn structure, which looks a bit bad, but we get the open file for the rook, which will lead to some kingside attacks. And of course we will try to castle queenside. So they develop the knight, we can develop the knight, they develop the bishop, we develop the bishop. Then let's say they castle. We can first make a square for our queen, or we could play the bishop out first. Let's say they develop their bishop, then we develop the queen. They might say, I want to attack you. They can play h4, but they can also play this move first. We castle. They play the aggressive move g4, opposite side attacks. We will play rook to g1, getting ready to attack over here. We may already go here. and this is a bit annoying, but we can chase it away. So go here, chase away the bishop. It might drop back, attacking this pawn, but you shouldn't take this pawn because then you open up this file and the other rook will come, and we have two straight lines to the king. And now they might want to remove our knight. It's our move first, of course. We can play a lazy move like king b1, but even more, yeah, I would say just play h4, h5, h6. They can attack our knight, but we say we defend the knight, and what are you going to do? Because your pawns aren't really gonna sneak in anymore. Maybe this one, but no, they can play this move, but it kind of weakens a lot of squares. So let's say we play this. We also have the idea to bring the king, the queen for checkmate. We have bishop sacrifice ideas, so maybe they play this move. It's an okay move, but we cannot really take because then he will get in. So we have to sacrifice our bishop here. So let's say this, they take. We can even take back with the queen and still have a roaring attack. So let's say they play rook to c1, we play h6, they move forward, and now we should play this move over here, try to play g4, or an even fancier way. After this, play king b1, and we reroute the bishop. So let's say they try to double on this pawn. We just defend the pawn for one move. They try to trade away our knight, which is a good move, but we can play this, or now we can play this move, attacking the knight. They only have this move because it defends mate. So let's say they play that, and there we are. And it's kind of an unstoppable attack over here. They may try this move, but now we can already strike in the center. Let's say they take, we take, they take. We can take in the center with a check. They can only move to the corner over here. And now, yeah, we can at the very least take here, and still have an attack. Because they can not really defend the knight, so if they have to move back, which will lead into a checkmate. Or they cannot defend it, they can only defend it with this move. But here we have stuff like this, and it's just done. So that's the line I recommend in the French. And the same goes for the lazy knight move. And then there are the other stuff like bishop e3 maybe. We can even take and just develop normally. Play c4 here. If they do this, we just trade the queens, get in a comfortable endgame for us. We can maybe even castle queenside. Is there any other stuff here? This isn't a good idea because it just weakens the king. After take, we get the classic fork. So yeah, that's what they shouldn't do. Have a great day. I hope you